Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Wellness Process podcast. Coming in hot with a solo episode today, which are, as you guys know, my favorite to record. It's such a low pressure, easy, doesn't feel like work. Not that my other conversations do, but it's really nice to just be able to sit down and chat with you guys. And on that note, I know I've mentioned this before, we are finally getting it up and running. So I've been working with my team to get YouTube up. So if you want to actually watch these videos, you can do so. I will link to it in the show notes. And for those of you that are like, where are the other episodes? Like, we're working on backlogging a little bit, but I think it's going to take us a little while to kind of like retroactively start adding. So stay tuned. Those will be uploaded with time. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you know when we post new ones. And yeah, there is such a surprising amount of people that wanted to actually watch the episodes rather than listen. I'm so much more of a listener because I tend to listen to podcasts when I'm like on the go. But I love that there are people that wanna watch. So, yeah, I'm also, like, gonna try to not act like I'm being filmed this entire time because normally I only use, my video during podcasts for, like, little 30-second, 1-minute clips on Instagram. So, I'm gonna pretend like I'm not being watched this whole time and try to act normal for you guys. So, I did a Q&A box last week, and I got some really interesting questions. It's tough because I feel like so many of the questions that come in on repeat are questions that I see all the time that I feel like I probably answered in the last solo. So if you feel like your question isn't being answered, you can always send me a DM. You can leave a comment on any of these reels. I try to be diligent and watch. It really is me like commenting back and DMing and all of that. I don't have anyone running it for me. So that's the best way to get my attention. And then I try to answer the questions that you guys really care about, even if it's multiple times, just to make sure that the message is received, because I know that not everyone is listening to every episode. That would be ridiculous to assume. So, before I get into some of those juicy Q&A questions, just wanted to give a little life update and recap. Let's see. It is June right now. You guys will be listening to this in July. This is my July app. I'm sort of like batching episodes right now because I'm going to be traveling for a lot of July, about 2 weeks. I'm going to Europe. I will be in Lake Garda, which is like Lake Como's little sister. It's actually, in my opinion, way better. Have a wedding there, and then we are going to Ibiza for a week. So I'm excited to show Clayton Ibiza. As you guys probably know, I spent most of my summer last year in Ibiza having the best time. So I'm really excited. I can't believe that now, a year later, like I was so falling in love and just like in that energy and having the best summer. And he and I were talking every day for so many hours. And now we get to go back there engaged with our wedding coming up, and I get to show him all of my places. So really excited about that. But the point is that I am trying to work my hiney off for May and June so that July and August I can chill a little bit, um, put my feet up a little bit, spend my weeks out east a little bit. We'll see how much I actually end up doing that because work seems to keep popping up in the city, and I have been the busiest that I've ever been with work. I think just juggling 3 Instagram accounts and essentially businesses simultaneously has been a lot. But I also keep reminding myself this is the busyness and the growth that I've been craving all of this time. So it really is a gift at the same time. And I feel really grateful to be feeling really good in that busyness versus how I was feeling a couple months ago when I was going through my trying for the 100th time to go off of an SSRI and failing phase because busyness did not feel good during that time. So every day I'm grateful. That's not to say that I'm not tired and at the end of the week feeling like I don't want to see anyone or talk to anyone and just put my feet up. But alas, so we're here. We are recording. And oh, last time I spoke with you guys on a solo, I was heading to Australia. So I wanted to update you guys on that trip. Okay, first of all, I will just say the reason that we went to Australia was because Clayton, my fiance, was asked to give a speech at a real estate conference. So we were essentially going there for work. And because of that, they flew us Emirates first class, which we never would have been able to do or opted to do or pay for on our own. So it was such a treat. I wanted to clear that up because I know that what I showed on Instagram, I gave, like, a review of it because it was so ridiculous and so outside of anything I've ever done before and such a once in a lifetime experience. That's not my norm by any means, but I thought it was really fun to share, and, it was a wild experience. You can shower on the plane, you get essentially your own bed, they do turn down service, there is a bar that you can mingle at and stand or sit in, like, booth seating and have cocktails. The service was like nothing I probably will ever experience again. So tentative. You can eat at any time. The menu is wild. I had a caviar service in the morning. I mean, the flight was honestly like one of the highlights of the trip, I will just say. Because so we flew from New York to Dubai, which is about 15 hours, and then Dubai into, gosh, where did we fly to in Australia? So we flew out of Sydney, we flew into Brisbane. That's where we flew to. That was also about, like, 12 to 15 hours. So it was this interesting mix of wanting to hang out and experience this insane flight and, like, reap all the benefits and get on this shower list. You have to, like, give your name for the shower when you first get on the flight. So the real pro tip, if you're ever flying Emirates first class, is to get the last shower slot. It's a very hot item. They tend to give it away to the people that frequent those flights, which is a wild concept to be frequenting that situation. Love that for them. So you wanna get the last slot because you want to spend the first half of the flight chilling, marinating, working, watching shows, living your life. I was journaling, reading my Kindle, etcetera. And then you wanna ask for the turn down service. And then they make up your bed, they spray it with, like, lavender spray, there are sheets, I mean, it's wild. And then if you're into this, which I have to take some sort of sleeping pill or anxiety pill for the sleep component, even if there's a lay flat. So I take that and then I sleep for like 8 hours. And then you get woken up or you wake up on like the last hour, you shower, and then you literally walk off the flight feeling like it never happened. It was crazy. So we land in Dubai. We're at the lounge there, which unpopular opinion, and I will make Emirates their own category. I had not experienced them prior to this. Not an airport lounge girl. I feel like everyone is like, "Oh, I have the Amex Platinum Lounge," or "I'm a part of the United Lounge," or "I'm flying first class, so I have the Delta Lounge." Not interested. And it's really interesting because Clayton and I very much share that. I feel like everyone in my life is lounge obsessed. I would rather minimize my time at the airport altogether, arrive to the gate with minutes to spare, and, which I'm learning this, by the way, like, I was not always that way. I used to be, like, 2 hours early to the gate. Clayton has sort of taught me his ways, and I really trust him to get me there. We've never missed a flight. So you minimize the time in the airport. You sit at the gate. I can then see, maybe I'm a little bit of a control freak. I can then see what's going on at the gate. I can see if we're boarding. I can see if it's pre-boarding, whatever. I like to have boots on the ground, my eye on the gate, and then you board and leave. I'm not trying to marinate in a bad lounge and eat bad food. Now, all that to say, the Emirates lounge was very different. I made my own matcha latte, brought my own powder, my own mini maple syrup, which was such a treat, my own electric whisk. And yeah, you might think I'm a little crazy for doing that, but I love my matcha routine so darn much that to me it's worth it to like schlep a few little items. And by the way, I'm so glad I had it because there were so many places that we were in Australia where I either didn't have time or we just weren't in an area with good matcha. And I was able to just get a little whole milk in the lobby, bring it up to the room, and use all the rooms there, by the way, had like electric kettles. So I could just make my own hot water, sift the matcha powder. Actually, I didn't have to sift. I take that back. I take that back. I was using Peak, their little travel packets, which, by the way, are actually quite amazing. They're very heavily tested for all the things that you don't want in your matcha. I love Cosmic Cultures for when I'm in the city, but those little packets don't require as much sifting. I think it's just like the texture of the powder. So it was a lot better for travel. So if you're assembling a travel matcha kit, you need the Peak packets. Sadly, I don't have a code. I would love to work with them. You need an electric whisk just to replace the messiness of like using a bamboo one. And that's it. You get hot almond milk, you get hot whatever milk. Okay, so here's what you actually do. If you're in the airport, you ask for a hot cup of almond milk or whole milk or whatever you're drinking. I was using whole because I like it. And then you ask for a hot mug or cup of water. And then you use the water with the matcha powder, you whisk it up, and then you pour it in the almond milk or whatever. And you also have a tiny maple syrup container which I was gifted from a friend. This is probably not a reusable item. I've been reusing it. I've been like rinsing it out, refilling it, the whole thing. Should maple syrup be refrigerated? Yeah, probably. Is it going to kill me on this trip? Probably not. Make your own decisions. This is just what I'm doing. And it worked out beautifully. And I actually met a friend there who Clayton introduced me to, and she was so kind to give me, I had run out of my peak matcha packets, and she gave me some of her matcha powder in a Tupperware, the vibrant green kind. She really understood, and her own homemade nut milk. So that was a real treat. I feel like I was treated very well in Australia. That made a huge difference to me. Anyway, so the flight situation was wild. We arrived. We spent the first couple of days in Brisbane, which was very cute. Australian hospitality, by the way, is incredible. I had never heard that before, but the way that people were so welcoming and so kind and so helpful, connecting the dots, connecting us to other people, setting us up, like it was really extraordinary. And everywhere we went, that was the case. So I don't think it was like a one off. I think everyone was just, I view it as such a happy, kind, genuine place. Like people aren't like fake happy. They're really genuinely happy, and that probably has something to do with the fact that it is so beautiful there. They have the water, the beach, the cities, the weather. Yeah, I was really blown away. So we did Brisbane. I checked out the most insane gym there, which was called, I'm going to totally blank on the name, something Platinum. I can't remember. Go on Sweats in the City Instagram for the review if you want it. That was wild. So we did like compression boots, we did red light therapy, we did sauna, cold plunge, like all the things. And then from there we went to the Gold Coast where Clayton gave his speech in front of 5,000 people with Kamala Harris speaking before him. So that was really wild and so cool to see, and such a proud fiance moment because yeah, it's not something he's ever done before, and I'm not surprised at all that he absolutely crushed it. So it was really cool to see everyone respond to him and how much it lit him up. And yeah, so we were kind of in and out on the Gold Coast. I didn't experience a ton there. We were kind of like in a conference center the entire time. And then from there, we went to Byron Bay. We stayed at this hotel called Ray's, and it was so special and so cool and so unique and such amazing, like boutique style. This woman, Tamsin Johnson, is their interior designer, who's like a famous interior designer in Australia. And we were actually able to go to her store, her like design studio in Sydney after that. But yeah, Byron Bay was amazing. I would almost equate it to like a Malibu meets Ibiza. I don't know. It was like interesting small town sort of hippie vibes, but with like really amazing little gems. This hotel, a lot of the food, a ton of like clean options, really good matcha. So it's very cool, beautiful beach town. Also, it's on the water, and the ocean was insane. So it was really fun. From there, we went to Sydney. We stayed at the Park Hyatt, which was really beautiful and luxurious and amazing. However, I'm not sure if I would recommend staying in that area of Sydney if you're going. It sort of felt like we were in Fidei. We stayed there because it's a nice hotel, and also there was this like light situation happening. I'm gonna totally call it the wrong thing. So if you're Australian, please excuse me. Basically, like they were lighting up the Sydney Opera House and the surrounding areas every night. So it was like a festival of sorts. And so we were able to like really be immersed in that, which was really cool. We actually went to a concert at the Sydney Opera House, which was amazing. Had really good food. Yeah, it was great. But so we flew back. I think it was 12 days that we were there. There's a few things that I determined from this trip. I probably won't go to Australia again, not because I didn't have a phenomenal time there. I just think it was kind of a once in a lifetime experience. It is really far from home. So you're on, I think it was a 14-hour time difference. It's really hard to work. It really made me realize how I'm working nonstop because I had a lot of anxiety while I was there about being on a literal totally different day as the US. It was tough because you only have a small window of overlap where you're like in the same day of like working hours as people in New York. So that was a little difficult. Being, 30 hours away from home was a little difficult. It was also, yeah, it was a lot on the body to be on, planes and cars and all of that. And it was a lot of moving. So what I'm realizing is I'm like more of a week max kind of girl to be away from home. I just love my home. I love my routines. I love um my Pilates, my matcha, my friends, my work. It's just for special occasions only, which this was absolutely that. So yeah, Australia, 10 out of 10, but it also the jet lag on the way back and on the way there was wild. Like it's like you're a weekend before you start to feel normal, and then you're basically getting on a plane and doing it all over again, and then you're jet lagged in New York. So the nice thing about the jet lag while we were there was that we were waking up really early, which I love on vacation because I love to like really squeeze the most out of your day. But when I got back, it was, a little bit of a sleepy situation. I feel like I'm finally emerging from that weeks later. But yeah, that was my Australia experience. Okay, so I want to take a moment to talk about something that I was getting sort of questions on, and also it's just been really relevant for me lately, which is mood and mood fluctuations. I think that one of the really beautiful things about being in a relationship is that your partner can be a mirror for you and different patterns and things that they see that maybe you don't see. And they are experiencing your behavior in a way that nobody else is, right? You're together 24/7 or whatever it is, you're together a lot, right? And you're under the same roof. And I think that a reflection that Clayton has made and that's something that I've felt but have never realized the pattern of this is how much my mood changes right before my cycle. It's something that I've now seen the way that I feel that sort of darkness. And by the way, a couple of months ago, this was heightened times 10 because I was trying to wean off of an SSRI. I talk more about that in my previous solo episodes if you want more on that. I will not bore you guys with the same story, but long story long is that I ended up going back on it and just realizing that, like, this is where I'm at. This is what makes me feel good, and I will not be messing with it again. So, all that to say, I was having this heightened PMS experience emotionally and mentally, and it's definitely, even with the SSRI, still present, and it's something that I am really trying to work through. I don't exactly have the answers yet, but what I do know is that 5-ish days, maybe 4 leading up to my cycle, or like, it's a small window and it's certainly PMS. I am not fully myself. My energy is tanked. My emotional reservoir is overflowing. I have way less capacity to deal with things. I'm way more sensitive and my mood is a lot lower. Like I'm definitely in more of a what's the point mindset, and I really hate to be in that mindset. And when I'm in it, I really hate myself in that mindset. And that is really hard to, on top of all of it, be kind of hating yourself, right? So I share this because it's something that I'm working on. It's not something that I've solved. This upcoming cycle will be my first cycle where I'm like really paying attention to it. So I'm going to try to make less plans, have more nourishing activities, more chill things if I am making plans, and really um, maybe even increase certain supplements for anxiety and things like that. I have to obviously work with my doctor. A lot of things can counteract with Lexapro, which I'm on, but it's something that I have become increasingly aware of. And by the way, the beautiful thing about finding a pattern like this, I love patterns. I love that there is a hormonal component because that's something that I can work with, right? Now, for those of you that are like my Nicole Sachs TMS community, you're probably thinking, is there a TMS component to this? Which is essentially your body feeling physical pain or emotional pain to kind of protect itself from underlying stuff. Absolutely, that could be. I think with all things TMS, there is room for doing things to make yourself more comfortable in the moment, especially if you're really struggling. And if I'm being honest, the last couple of months, I've been really struggling during that time. Another thing that I've been leaning on that I really love that I think you guys would love too is the meditation app Open. So they have this cycle syncing program that's 28 days, and it allows you to look at where you are in your cycle and then do whatever breath work, light movement, meditation, things like that correspond with where you are, right? So if you're ovulating, you have more energy and you should kind of harness it and do more heavy breath work and things like that. And if you're in, where I am pre cycle and you're feeling a little low and slow, it has all the things to cater to that. So it's a really amazing resource. I'll actually link to it in the show notes so you guys can get 30 days free if you're interested. I know that a main question I get is what kind of meditations am I doing? And that is a program that has been very life-changing for me. So I'm excited for you guys to try it. And I'm also excited to continue to like take care during this little window, right? And like, how can we find ways to honor where we're at? Also, like, I was ovulating last week and I was flying high. I was doing the most. I was so joyous. I was kind of like, you kind of couldn't mess with me. So it's also just interesting to track. And I think that there's something to really be said about having an awareness of where we are in our cycle. Like, we are women and we have these fluctuations. They are normal to some degree. Obviously, you don't want to feel too extreme in any of those areas, but there is going to be some level of fluctuation. And also, part of my journey, and probably a lot of yours, is being okay with that and being okay with not feeling amazing all the time and not like doubling down on ourselves and beating ourselves up when we don't feel amazing, because as we know, that makes it 100 times worse. And there has to be room for ups and downs. Okay, so on that note of sort of like things I've been doing for myself lately that are helping me feel better, I wanted to share a revelation that I had with my meditation coach recently, which is I am someone who picks myself apart all the time. It's like kind of a default. It has served me in some ways, in that I'm very diligent and I'm very on top of things, and I keep it together most of the time, right? I love aesthetics. It's important to me. I like feeling put together, all of that. So it has served me in some ways. However, it has really hindered me in others where, especially, speaking to our cycle, during those more sensitive phases, I am sometimes really mean to myself. And it's something that I've been really working on. It's something that I've tried to be really honest with my coach about so that he can sort of help me work through it. And we sat down the other day. We have a weekly call. So I do my meditation every day, and then once a week we talk about it. We move together, we talk about it, all the things. And something that came to him during his meditation that might help me, which is really interesting because it was very relevant and like weirdly in the back of my mind, this concept of mirrors. And I think that if you are someone that overly analyzes, critiques, picks yourself apart, I think we need to reassess our relationship with the mirror. Now, that might sound really simple, or it might also sound kind of vain, like, my God, how much are you looking at yourself? But sometimes I don't even think we realize. It's not like I'm looking at myself and being like, oh my God, I look amazing all the time. Mostly, I am using a mirror to pick myself apart and critique myself and unintentionally bring myself down. I did a whole episode about getting a magnifying mirror and how I was like fucking my face up because I was picking at it so much. I think that's an extreme example, but it's the same thing. I think when we have this underlying feeling of being not good enough, sometimes we actually look to the mirror to find the flaw in order to validate the feeling that we were having about ourselves. And I am certainly guilty of that. So he and I have been sort of working together to assess, like, how am I using mirrors? How much am I using them? Do I need one when I'm working out all the time? And it's interesting because I just put 2 mirrors in my little wellness room in, the Hamptons, which I spoke about on my last solo episode, and it really is important to me to be able to see my form, and it's helpful for working out, right? But are we abusing them? So, they're only on one side of the room. I've sort of shifted my mat so that I'm not looking at those mirrors and just becoming a little bit more aware of how I'm using them. Am I doing it to help myself, or am I actually, like, being mean to myself during what should be a time where I'm lifting myself up and doing something good for my body because I love it, right? So I just wanted to put that out there because I feel like with a lot of sensitive girly listeners who are in the wellness space and like this kind of stuff, but might be beating themselves up when they're working out or just throughout the day, like I think it's something we should all be paying more attention to. Okay, so that's piece number one, just awareness of mirrors. And piece number two is, and I really believe in the power of visualization and sort of like subconscious programming, right? I've had episodes with hypnotherapists. I talk a lot about manifestation, rewiring the brain, all of those things, very real. And I think I've mentioned this on here before, so I'll be quick with it. But I saw a hypnotherapist in the city years ago who actually was not a good fit for me. But she was very powerful. And both things can exist, right? She can be really good at her job and not the right fit for me. Anyway, I digress. I saw her, and during that time, we had this visualization of my perfect day. And in that, and she actually recorded her voice talking through it, and I would play it while I slept. Literally, when I tell you guys, every single detail of that visualization that I had created about my dream life is now my reality. I am not being dramatic. Even down to having my own little wellness room where I'm meditating every morning, which at the time was such a stretch for me to say. And then I kept seeing myself in this breakfast nook. And I was like, what is this breakfast nook? I don't have a breakfast nook. I don't even like really value a breakfast nook. Like, I'm also in the city. Who has that? When I tell you that Clayton's apartment has a breakfast nook and that we are building one into our new apartment that we're moving into in the fall, like I saw myself sitting there after meditating, drinking a smoothie. It was so specific. So, anyway, my point in sharing this is visualization is really, really impactful. So, I've been working with my meditation coach on sort of like a rewiring little visualization exercise at the end of my meditations to add in. So, what I recommend doing if you're interested in doing this on your own is going into Spotify and looking for some sort of like brain rewiring playlist or music. I know it sounds a little silly. I use one. It's kind of a different one every day. You could also do it in silence, but I do think that there are certain like tones and frequencies and energies that are better for neuroplasticity and rewiring your brain. So, by the way, if you're interested in learning more on that topic specifically, I have a neuroscientist, Emily McDonald, who came on the podcast, and her episode is amazing. So, if you need a little bit of reassurance in that area and the realness of it, listen to her. So basically, what I do is after my meditation, I put on one of those songs for like 3 minutes, and I sit there and I visualize my most vibrant, joyful, happy self, and whatever that looks like. By the way, it's okay to throw in aesthetics to that. Like, what do you physically look like? What does your hair look like? What does your energy look like? How are you interacting with people? What are you wearing? And so I've been trying to do that every day. I've not been super consistent with that. I do my meditation every day. This is like my add-on, and I'm kind of like working on fully committing to it, but I already feel, and maybe it's just, the phase of the cycle I'm in, but I feel so much more vibrant. And yes, like, sometimes it feels like it takes an army, and I know I'm listing a lot of stuff that it takes to, keep this ship afloat, but I'm just being honest about I'm a very sensitive person. I need a lot of care, self-care, care from other people. Like, it's just how I operate. And so, how can I add in little things to my day to make life better and easier? And like Melissa Wood says, and I always repeat this, how bad do you want to feel good? Bad enough that I'm down to add in 3 minutes to my morning to visualize my most vital, vibrant, happy self. And it's been working. So, just a little suggestion for anyone that might be where I am. One other thing that you guys were sort of asking about food, and I think it definitely ties into this idea of self-care and sort of theme of the episode of things you can do for yourself to feel better. I have been doing this thing where I'm trying to eat my most vibrant possible plates. It's just been a fun exercise because I think, especially when you're really busy, and I know so many listeners are really busy, and we end up just kind of like eating to eat. It's like you would take a pill to be full and healthy if you could. But there's something that's very regulating for the nervous system to like slow down and actually eat and enjoy a meal that is so vibrant and vital. So, I got this service. Hold on, I'm gonna look up what it's called. I had Glow with Ella, Ella Henry on the podcast, and she was like, "We need to be eating." Hold on, I'm just gonna search for this thing. It's called Farm to People. Okay, so she was like, "We need to be eating more seasonally. Like that is what our body is equipped to handle. It's actually like nature's built-in guide for what we should be eating," which is also kind of fun to play with. So I signed up for this Farm to People thing. I think it cost me like $35, and I get a delivery every other week or something like that. And it's just really fun because, by the way, this is not an ad. I just love them. As with a lot of stuff on this podcast that I talk about, it's really fun because they send whatever they have. I mean, you can customize your order a little bit if you don't want kale or whatever, um, which I don't love kale. But anyway, beside the point. So it's this fun, local, or like, they source it kind of organic, seasonal produce bundle, and it's been so fun because I've been getting stuff that I would have never picked up. It sort of, like, challenged me in the kitchen a little. I had, like, ramps come the other day, and I was like, "What do I do with these?" And I, like, chopped them up and put them in my salad dressing, and also I got a bunch of fennel, and I put that in my salad too, and Clayton loved it. And, yeah, I went from being like, "What am I gonna eat for dinner tonight?" to having this, like, beautiful vegetarian feast. So I don't know. I think for me, cooking is a sign that my mental health is good. Like, I know that when I'm, like, feeling my best and my most vital, I am in the kitchen creating, and there's something very therapeutic about it. I'll put on a podcast and just sort of go to town and, like, make my food art-like. And, yeah, it's felt really good. So I'm just gonna suggest that for anyone out there. Few things that I've been loving. I've been making hard-boiled eggs and just, like, batching them for the week so that I have high-protein breakfasts. I also went to Happier Grocer and got a, sliced loaf of sourdough bread, and I just keep that in the freezer. You don't have to get it at Happier Grocer, but I was just giving a local example. It's nice because whenever I buy a loaf of sourdough, which I love sourdough, I never really get through the whole thing before it goes stale. So, just getting it sliced, keeping it in the freezer so that you can use it forever and, just whip a piece out a day. So I'll do like 2 hard-boiled eggs. I'll do, a piece of sourdough with ghee or salted butter. And then I've been doing a lot of fermented foods ever since my episode with Zoe. I have been doing like sauerkraut or kimchi. I freaking love kimchi. If anybody has brand suggestions for that, I would love to hear. And then I've been doing whatever fruit comes in my little farm box. So this week it was nectarines. So it's this beautiful, vital, delicious plate. I also will use Applegate Farms chicken sausage. I keep those in the freezer too. So again, I can just like pop them in the air fryer and then on my plate. I think it's both about making it easeful for yourself, but also enjoying the process and not being so fixated on the end result and being like fit or skinny or losing weight. It's like, what is my body craving? How can I put it on a beautiful plate and like pause for even 5 minutes and just sit and enjoy my breakfast? So that's been really, really rewarding for me. Okay. I also, per usual, got a lot of questions around manifestation. So right now, Lacey Phillips, the To Be Magnetic program that I've used for like everything I've manifested, and I really need to jump back into it. There's like a money manifesting program right now. So I'm planning to start that this weekend. I'm really hoping to like batch and get a ton of, I'm like going really hard this week to get all my work done so that this weekend I can like really nourish and do my To Be Magnetic and like work on visualizations and Pinterest boards and all the fun things. So sometimes I feel like I have to kind of like put in my work and earn that. But I love her program. If anybody's looking to manifest, she's incredible. I had Jessica Gill, her podcast counterpart, on my podcast recently. Her episode should be coming out, if not before this, sometime soon. So wait for Jessica Gill. It's going to be an amazing one. People were asking who my expanders are right now. Well, first of all, I just want to say I manifested 300,000 followers on Instagram, which it's been about a year and a half since I started the account, and I truly cannot believe this was a couple days ago that this came true, and, I'm blown away, and I really think that it's both the manifestation work that I've been doing and also when you're doing something where you are so authentically yourself and unapologetically you, which is what I really try to do with this. Like, you can have expanders, people that, sort of like expand your subconscious to believing that you can have what they have. And I think that's really helpful. I'll share a couple of my expanders with you guys, but you can't want to be them, right? You can see yourself in them and you can see that you want what they have because it's attractive to you and you can like the way that they're doing it. That's what really makes an expander. But you have to have your own sauce and recipe because I think when you're trying to follow somebody else's recipe, and there's a lot of recipes out there and a lot of noise to follow, but when you really just keep coming back to yourself and like, what do I want to share? What's really lighting me up? Like this solo episode, for example, today, I am like on fire right now. I could do like 4 of these. I love it. And I hope that you guys feel that. And so anyway, next up, I am manifesting 500,000 followers. So it's July now. Mark my words. I'm hoping within the next year to hit the 500,000 mark, which would just be bananas to me. So anyway, in the expander list, I wanted to share that I added one recently to my list. And expanders, like I said, are people where you see yourself in them. and you're motivated by what they're doing, and it's really helpful for your subconscious mind to recognize them, right? Because if they can have it, you can have it, especially if you see some of yourself. So, I know you guys are gonna be like, "Wow, that's not what I was expecting," but I just recently watched I think it's called Very Ralph, the Ralph Lauren documentary. By the way, amazing watch, highly recommend. I'm not a big movie person, but, this one really captivated me, and he has become my new expander. I just think obviously what he's created with Ralph Lauren is insane, but the way he's gone about it, the way he stayed so true to himself and his vision for the brand and his eye for aesthetics, I just found so inspiring. I also found his family life really inspiring. Despite insane success, they have remained so tight-knit. He looks at his wife like she's the world, and, I just really think what he has created is so beautiful. So it's fun. Expanders are a fun exercise actually because you get to look at the world from a lens that has zero jealousy attached to it. You're not envious, you're inspired. And I think it's such an important shift for us to have when we're looking, especially on social media. Like, there's so much happening, there's so many resources, there's people with so much success. What if we switched our lens from envy to inspiration? And that's what I've really been trying to do as I digest content, as I watch shows and things like that. Like, actually, there's more than enough to go around, and I can have it too. So, it's a fun little exercise. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. I'm trying to not make these too rambly and long, but please write me with any questions you want me to touch on next time. I know I spent a lot of time on, updates and things like that, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you soon.